Hello and welcome back to my channel. Today is my first video 2020, which is exciting. I did take 2 weeks off for Christmas and New Year's just because I needed a little break to refill the creative well, if you will. So I'm back with a little bit of a different video, not something I've ever made before, but if you were around in 2017 when I started my Instagram, you know that I mainly talked about books. And I kind of transitioned into writing because that was what I was passionate about at the point that I changed everything. But as a writer, you're still a reader. At least if you want to be a good writer, you need to be a good reader. Which is why I need to get back to reading books. For the past couple of years, I've been very bad about reading, usually only reading because it was required of me, which is bad, but I want to get back to it. So with that, I want to bring some more book-related content to the channel. Now, not every video on my channel is going to be book-related. I'm still going to be making writing content because that is still where my heart is at, but my heart is also with reading. So with that, today I bring you my favorite books of the decade. Just for some context, at the start of the decade in 2010, I was in 6th grade. So I was 11 going on 12. So just bear that in mind when I show you my favorite books of the decade. And I'm sure you can already guess some of them. So let's get started. Now, I have 3 categories of books that I'm going to be talking about. One's from middle school, one's from high school, and one's from college slash recent years. So we're going to start in middle school, the cringiest. And they're not in any particular order. It's just the order I have them on the floor here. So the first one on the top of the pile is Speak by Laurie Halse Anderson. Now, I read this in 8th grade. So my 8th grade teacher gave me this book off of her special shelf. She also gave me some other books, but this is the one that stuck with me the most. I'm not going to be talking about the plots of every single book because there are a lot of books here. I mean, it's 10 years worth of books, so. But you can definitely look it up if you want to know the plot, but it is something that has stuck with me ever since. I mean, that was 8 years ago, so pretty impactful book. There is also a movie with Kristen Stewart in it if you're interested, but I really love this book. It's one of my favorites of all time, obviously. Also, this cover is like this tree is like metallic and the eyes, very pretty cover. The next book I also read in 8th grade, and that is Anne of Green Gables. My mom actually had a copy of this. She had read it as a kid and really loved it. This is not the same copy. I gave that copy back to her, obviously, because it's hers, and I bought my own from a used bookstore. This book, again, not gonna talk about the plot because it's been out forever. There's also a Netflix adaptation if you are interested. But yeah, Anne of Green Gables. I have a very distinct memory of reading this in 8th grade, like in between classes. I was sat there with my little book and everyone's like, "What are you reading?" And I'm like, "You wouldn't understand." I was that kid. So yeah, Anne of Green Gables. And also this cover is pretty cute. I have the other 3, I think there are 4 books in that series, or maybe more, I'm not sure. But yeah, Anne of Green Gables. Good book, very wholesome. Anne is a little adorable little small bean, so. Now, these next few books are very popular books. You can probably guess what they're going to be, but we'll start with this. This is Divergent by Veronica Roth. Very popular. I'm not trying to be a hipster when I say this, but I remember reading this book for free on my iPod from the Apple bookstore. I was coming off of another book, which we will talk about in a moment, and I wanted something similar, and Divergent is very similar. Yeah, so I read it on my iPod for free. This was like before anybody, like it got big. Yes, I'm that person. I'm gonna be a hipster about it and say, yes, I read it before everybody else. But yeah, so this is obviously not the copy I read because I read it on an iPod, but I bought a copy. I liked this book. I really liked this book. I thought this book was good. I know a lot of people are like, it's just a Hunger Games ripoff. I see that, but dystopian was very, very big at the time. So like every book was a dystopian and a ripoff of Hunger Games, if you think about it like that. But I did really enjoy the first one. I still haven't finished the series. I read the first one and I loved it. I probably read it once or twice, probably. I read the second one once and I was like, okay. I didn't read the third one. I have it. It's on my shelf. I didn't read it. I didn't finish it because I didn't care. At that point, by the time Insurgent, Allegiant is the last one. By the time Allegiant came out, everybody was done with dystopian. It was over. Dystopian was canceled. We were just done with it. So I never finished it. And I don't plan on finishing it, but it still sits on my shelf because I really liked Divergent, and I just can't get rid of the other two books because I didn't like them. They need to be all together. Is that weird? I feel like that's weird. Anyway, so let's just go ahead and jump to this, The Hunger Games. This book, let me be clear, I loved The Hunger Games. This first book was great. Loved it. Wonderful world. Great characters. Loved it. But the next two in the series, Catching Fire was okay. Mockingjay, jumping the shark a little bit. Again, Mockingjay I feel like came out towards the end of the whole dystopian craze, so I feel like people didn't really care about it anymore. Yeah, and they did kind of the same thing with the movies. The first movie came out, I didn't hate the first Hunger Games movie. I thought it was pretty good. The second one, not so much. And then they did the thing where they split Mockingjay into two movies, and I'm like, but for why? It's like a 300-page book. You didn't need to split it into two movies. You're just trying to make money. But yeah, but Hunger Games, this first book, is wonderful. I'm pretty sure I checked it out from the library. Like, I have this weird memory of driving downtown with my mom reading Hunger Games, and like telling her about it and being like, oh my god, this book is so good, and like reading it in the car. So yeah, Hunger Games. Definitely, I feel like, is on a lot of people's favorite books of the decade just because it was huge, and it actually is a really good book. I actually read this again in high school. I just now remembered that we read this in high school. So this was probably my high school copy. But yeah, Hunger Games. Now, let's just move back in time a little bit because I think I read The Hunger Games in 7th or 8th grade. Twilight. I'm pretty sure I read this in 6th or 7th grade. And I have a clear memory of one of my childhood friends coming over to my house to sleep over, and she had this book, not this one in particular, but she had this one, and it was smaller. It was like a little trade market paperback, I think. And she was talking about how great it was and that I just had to read it, and I'm like, yeah, okay. So I started reading it, and then I didn't stop reading it. And I devoured this series. I loved it. This was the start of like a vampire craze. It also made me love The Vampire Diaries, which I still love, and you can fight me on it because I love that show. But yeah, Twilight. Looking back, I know a lot of people have been doing videos on BookTube about rereading Twilight and being like, oh my god, that's so cringy. You're not wrong. I think this bookmark is from when I tried to reread it. It's also a Twilight bookmark. I had a lot of Twilight stuff. Like, my mom even made me a Twilight charm bracelet with all of the book covers on it, which super cool to like 13-year-old me who loved Twilight. But yeah, Twilight. I mean, when I think back to all of the memories that I have related to Twilight, it's all good, but I think if I read it now, I would just be rolling my eyes. But it still makes this list because of how obsessed I was with it. Also, can we talk about the movies for a second? Breaking Bad Part 2, Breaking Bad, oh my god. We're watching Breaking Bad right now, so that's like in my brain. Breaking Dawn Part 2. Shook. Like, if you've seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about. Shook. I was shook. I wanted my money back. I was like, no, this is not happening. So, anyway, let's move on to some later middle school reading, probably like 8th grade going into high school. I was big into YouTube at this point. Loved the Vlogbrothers, which you know where this is going. So I'm just gonna hold them up together. Looking for Alaska by John Green and The Fault in Our Stars by John Green. These are my 2 favorite John Green books. I like the others, I have the others, I've read the others. These 2 are still my favorites. So let's talk about Looking for Alaska first, because I'm pretty sure this is the first one I read. Yeah, because I remember when The Fault in Our Stars came out. I remember him reading the first chapter of it on the channel. Anyway, so Looking for Alaska by John Green was one of those books that I think really, like, I have loved reading my whole life. This is one of those books that got me into this particular genre, which I guess is young adult. But I'm pretty sure I read this in 7th or 8th grade. Way too young to read this book. I'm sorry, Mom. I probably lied to you about what this book was about, or you didn't ask. But yeah, I was way too young to read this book. Now it's fine. Now it's like, whatever. And I know people have opinions about John Green. I understand them, but I don't agree with them. I love John Green. I think he's a great person. I know people don't like his books or him for whatever reason, but I still enjoy this book. Again, it's one of those that you kind of look back at and you're like, oh, it's kind of cringy. There's also the Hulu series, like 14 years after the book came out. But yeah, I still really enjoy this. I did reread it a couple of years ago, I think, and I still enjoyed it. I tried watching the Hulu series. I didn't care as much for some reason. I still like the book better. Maybe I'm just a snob, but yeah, Looking for Alaska by John Green. And then finally, The Fault in Our Stars by John Green, which is signed. I have the green J scribble, which I thought was really cool because John Green, it's green. Anyway, so yeah, this is, again, one of those books that made me just like fall in love with YA. And I know people have problems with this book, and I know people have problems with the movie. I still really love it. Like, I know probably, again, if I read it now, I'd cringe a little bit, but still, I think the thing about John Green and his books is that they're not super heavy on plot. For the most part, they're pretty generic-ish plots, but it's really about the characters and the relationships and them changing as people. That's mostly what his books are about, at least to me. So, yeah, this is like from middle school era, and we will get to more John Green coming up soon. So now we're going to move into the high school portion of the video, which is these books right here, which I'm gonna grab. We're gonna start with the 2 that I had to read for school, but I actually still really enjoy. So the first one is The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald. I know everybody is like kind of into Gatsby right now because of 2020. Everybody's having 20s themed parties. I love The Great Gatsby. It's one of my favorite classics. This is my school copy, so it has like highlights and writing in it. But I've read this, I think, 3 times for school, something like that. And I love it every single time. I think my name is in it, yeah. My name is here in the front because this was my school copy. Anyway, Great Gatsby, wonderful book. If you haven't read it, at this point, what are you doing? You know what I mean? And the next book, To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee. Now, this cover is so pretty. It has the deckled edges. I'm pretty sure this is the Barnes and Noble, no, it's the Harper Perennial Modern Classics edition. Pretty sure I got this at Barnes and Noble, probably, or Booksmart, or Booksmart, Books A Million. But this is like, I know, again, people have problems with this book and the portrayal of racism, but I think in the end it has a good story. I don't know, sue me. The movie is also wonderful. Just saying, it's great. Yeah, I read this 3 times. I think I read it in high school, and then again in college, and I think a 3rd time in college, I'm pretty sure. I've not read Go Set a Watchman. I've heard not so great things about it, mainly because, I mean, it was a book that Harper Lee never intended to be published, so I feel weird reading it now that she's not alive anymore. It's like, I don't think I'm ever gonna read it. So now the next two are books that I actually can't really remember when I read them. I'm pretty sure I was still in high school, but I'm not sure. It wasn't recently, let's just put it that way. So this book, this is Anna and the French Kiss by Stephanie Perkins. This is on the list of my favorite books of all time. That's how much I love it. This is a little bit cheesy, rom-com, YA contemporary. Set in Paris, at a boarding school. There are French boys, there are French movies, there's French food, there's drama, there's angst. It's perfect. I love it. I know there are 2 companion novels to this that I think are like set in the same world. The cover, you can tell that I've had this a long time because the cover does not look like this anymore, and I refuse to get the other books because the other covers don't look like this. So I either have to buy the new cover to get the other ones, or I just don't get them at all. Anyway, but yeah, I love this book very, very much. It also has the deckled edges and I know Stephanie Perkins recently wrote There's Someone in Your House, I think is the book, which is a YA thriller? YA mystery? Something like that. Anyway, this book, wonderful, love it, great book, 10 out of 10. And the last book is Fangirl by Ramble. Now, I know that probably everybody loves Carry On more than the actual book that Carry On came from. This is Fangirl, which is about a girl who writes fan fiction for a book series, I think, called Simon Snow, which is like kind of a Harry Potter thing, but they also mention Harry Potter in this book, which is a little, anyway. But she writes fan fiction, and she's in college, and she has a twin, and there's romance and other things happen in this book. I'm not trying to give anything away. I love this book. I haven't read Carry On or Wayward Son, which is the second book in the Carry On series. I probably should. I probably would enjoy them. But Fangirl. I really loved this book because of its portrayal of college and like anxiety in college, because I feel that in my soul. I never had to live in a dorm, so I don't have that experience, but I just really love this book. I know it's probably kind of weird to see on this list, but I loved it. So, sorry, not sorry. Now, the next category is books from either from college on to the present. So we're gonna start with like least recent to most recent, I guess, because I can remember. So we'll start here with Turtles All the Way Down by John Green. I love this book. This is my favorite John Green book. Those other 2 that I mentioned are like second and third favorites. This is my first favorite, as you can tell by the postmarks, the post-it notes. And this one is also signed with a J scribble, red J scribble. This book. I remember watching Hannah from, oh my god, what is her channel name? I'm blanking on A Clockwork Reader. That's her channel name. Wonderful, check her out. I'll leave her link down below. She talked about this book and how like emotional it made her, and I'm like, yeah, I feel that. This is one of those books that like I read it, I finished it, and I immediately started it again because I loved it so much. The representation of OCD and anxiety and obsessive thoughts and like panic attacks was chef's kiss. Loved it. I know he wrote a lot from his own experience with OCD, which I think is why it made it so real, because he's writing about his own experience, which, you know, obviously is easier to write about because you know about it. Great book. Loved it. You should definitely check it out. Even if you're not a John Green fan, I think people would enjoy this, even if you don't like John Green. So, I've been talking for 20 minutes. Anyway, So let's do this one next. So this is All That She Can See by Carrie Hope Fletcher. Carrie is a YouTuber, actress, author that I love. She's adorable and wonderful, and I really love her. I know people don't have the greatest opinion of her books. I feel like people are generally meh about her books. I liked On the Other Side. I liked When the Curtain Falls, but I loved All That She Can See. So if that tells you anything about me, then there you go. But I loved the characters. I loved the concept. I loved the food. I'm a big advocate for food in books. You describe a beautiful spread of food in a book and you have my heart. And that's what this book is. It's literally all about baking. You can see it on the cover. Also, all of Carrie's covers are great. I love them all. Just saying. I haven't read her new book. I think it's In the Time We Lost. I want to get it. I'm waiting for the US edition to come out, which I don't know when that will be, but hopefully soon. But yeah, All That She Can See. Great book. I loved it. Again, I'm not really talking about the plots of any of these books, mainly because this video is already 20 minutes long, probably more. And if I talked about each plot of every book, this would be like 6 years long. So, next book, Absolutely Remarkable Thing by Hank Green. Is it a surprise that I love both of the Green Brothers books? Absolutely not. If you knew me in 2012, this is not a surprise. But I loved this book for similar reasons that I like John Green book. It's the plot, I will say, the plot of this is very interesting and compelling and very like cool. Basically, if you don't know, it's like, I just said I'm not going to explain plots, but I'm going to explain the plot to you. But it's basically this like statue thing just appears in New York and all over the world, and nobody knows what it is, and it's what happens when someone discovers it and puts it on the internet. And then it goes from there. I loved this mainly because the characters are great. The main character, April, is like flawed in a way that makes you love her, because it's like she makes these decisions and you're like, God, you're such an idiot, but that is so a decision that you would make. You know, like Hank Green did a great job with the characters in this book. I like have a love-hate relationship with April. But yeah, the concept is really cool. I loved the way he talked about social media in this book. It's very realistic, obviously, because he works in social media. He knows, he's seen firsthand what happens on Twitter when things blow up. Great book. Definitely highly recommend. It's kind of different, but I really like it. Also, the cover is really cool. And I know the sequel is coming out this year? Is it coming out this year? I know I saw the cover reveal for it. So, great book. And the very last book in this video is going to be my not my most recent read, but my last read of 2019. And that is A Darker Shade of Magic by V.E. Schwab. Now, I started reading this in September, I think, of last year. I bought it from a local bookstore because I'd heard nothing but good things, and I follow Victoria Schwab everywhere because I think she's brilliant at giving writing advice. And I hadn't read any of her books, and I'm like, how am I supposed to take this person writing advice? I don't know anything about her books, so I picked this one up because I thought this one appealed to me the most out of all of her books, but I do, after reading this, want to read all of them. So this book is so good. If you haven't read it, please read it. It's wonderful. It's the characters. I would let Lila Bard kill me. I would let her stab me. I would let her run me over with a car. So I love this world. I can't wait to read more of it. I think all of the series is out, and I think it's getting adapted into a TV show or a movie or something like that. Loved this book. I picked it up in September. I started reading it, and then I did that thing where it's like, this book is really good. I'm gonna stop reading it so I don't finish it, which makes no sense. But I finished it on December 27th of 2019, so this is my last read of 2019. great way to end a mediocre reading year. So yeah, definitely give this one a shot. If you like magic and compelling characters, check this out. So that is all of my books over here now in a pile. I think that's everything. Yes, that is everything. So yeah, those are all my favorite books of the decade. Definitely let me know what your like top 3 books of the decade were, or you can list out all of them. Honestly, I love talking about books. If you did enjoy this video, make sure to give it a like, and if you want to see more videos from me, make sure to hit the subscribe button, and if you want to be notified every time I upload a video, make sure to hit the little bell icon. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time. Happy reading!